I've been thinking about it. The doctor didn't have time to try and convince the parents. With something as aggressive as DIPG, those tumour cells won't stop growing just because paperwork isn't signed. He made a call and it saved her life.
That's exactly the point. Parental consent wasn't just paperwork. The parents always have to get the final say, regardless of prognosis. How can we, as future doctors, justify overriding a family's wishes?
Look, this wasn't about saving lives purely out of compassion. There's a part of every doctor who wants to prove they can beat the odds. It's a matter of ego, not just ethics.
We can't ignore the ethical weight here. The doctor went against the family's wishes, and that's a breach of trust. But at the same time, when you're facing a condition like DIPG, the treatment window is minuscule. If you wait, you lose permanently.
I've seen parents struggle with these decisions. When I worked in the paediatric ward, families were emotionally wrecked. They often didn't have the capacity to make the right call. I wonder if that's what this doctor was thinking, that the parents weren't in the right state of mind to decide properly.
That might be true, but he still paid the price. His licence is gone. The legal consequences were severe because ethically he crossed a line. The boundaries of our profession aren't always aligned with what feels right in the moment.
Such a tricky balance to strike. As future doctors, we'll have to learn when to advocate fiercely for our patients, whilst also respecting the family's rights to make those difficult choices, even when emotions are running high.
Do you think you could have done it? If you were in his shoes, would you have gone ahead with the treatment?
I don't know. It's easy to say yes when you think you're saving a life, but I've seen what happens when it goes wrong. I'm not sure I'd be able to carry that guilt if the outcome had been different.
Exactly. It's a heavy burden to bear. Sometimes the right choice isn't clear-cut, and that uncertainty can haunt you long after the decision is made.
Sometimes rules are made to be bent. If I knew a patient had mere weeks to live, I wouldn't hesitate. The treatment was her best shot. It's not about ego, Talia. It's about doing everything in your power to help.
But would you be willing to accept the consequences, Sara? You're right. It's about saving lives, but our choices are always under scrutiny. We don't practice medicine in a vacuum. What happens when you lose your career over it?
I understand the risks, Kim, but what's the point of being a doctor if we don't fight for our patients? Sometimes that fight means stepping outside the lines, even if it costs us everything.
His licence was revoked, not because he tried to save a life, but because he overstepped his authority and took a risk that should have involved the patient's family.
I get it, but if she had died, I mean, how do you even begin to explain to those parents that you did nothing when you could have? That's a guilt you'd carry forever.
You don't have to explain anything when you follow protocol. The parents were clear. They didn't want the experimental treatment. End of story. He gambled with their daughter's life, and that's inexcusable.
But think about it. What if he believed he could save her? What if he thought it was worth the risk?
But that's exactly the point, Maya. Belief doesn't justify defiance. It's not just about what he thought. It's about the lives he was playing with and the rules meant to protect them.
Belief doesn't matter when the rules are in place for a reason. If everyone started making decisions based on what they think is right, chaos would ensue.
So where does that leave us? As doctors, where do we draw the line between doing what is ethical and what we believe is right in the moment? Do we follow the rules or trust our instincts?
It's not an easy line to draw. You can't always follow instinct because the stakes are too high, but sometimes rules don't account for the complexity of a life or death situation. Medicine will always be about navigating those grey areas. It's not just about what's right for the patient. We'll have to live with the outcomes, whether it's saving a life or losing our licence. Either way, that weight doesn't get any lighter.
Starting to see why so many doctors burn out. It's not just the long hours, but the emotional strain of making tough decisions.
Maybe we should take a break. This conversation isn't over, but we're not going to find an answer today.